Looking forward to getting started here. Welcome to everybody who's on the call. I love to hear, as you come in, what attracted you to the call, what attracted you to the title, what you're hoping to walk away with today, some kind of expectation that you have. And we'll stop in a minute, and Jane, I'll ask you to feed that back to me. But I have been doing variations of this particular presentation for a while now, dating back to 2010. My previous job, there was some passion wrapped around it, but my previous job was head of learning and development for a large organization, and I got to run a corporate university, which was a lot of fun, and I learned a lot there. But it wasn't until 2010 that I was downsized myself and uprooted in a huge way that I went on this quest to try to figure out, how does anybody ever go from uprooted to uplifted, and what is within that journey, and what is possible to lift people up in a time when they really need it. Today, what I wanted to speak to you about are basically three things: is getting in touch with a passion that you may have and igniting that passion so that you can become uplifted, and then connecting with your purpose. So how is the passion and purpose tied together? And if you can do that, and if you can honor that passion, get in touch with that passion, and connect with your purpose, then you can create some kind of sustainable growth for yourself in the future. So you don't have to be sitting there thinking, what does the future hold? You can create your own vision of your own future, and you can turn that into reality. So I'm wondering how many of you are unemployed, underemployed. Maybe you're looking to jumpstart an existing business, or perhaps you kind of have one foot in the door, one foot out, and you know inevitably you will be transitioning to your next chapter, or you are already transitioning, or you may have already turned the page and you're full speed ahead, but you're not quite sure where that's leading. So I work a lot with people who are in transition and who are ready to turn that page, but are having trouble maybe connecting with the motivation they need to do it, or are having trouble going that path alone and going that journey alone. There's a lot of us out there, and the number of small businesses is rising because there is a lot of instability, and people are looking for alternatives to create some kind of future for themselves. So my question is, are you wanting to generate part-time income, passive income, or a business? If you could write that in the chat box as well. And Jane, could you start to feed me back anything you're seeing in there?
Yes, I can do that. We don't have any questions right.
Okay. So we will keep going.
Or comment.
All right.
So if anybody wants to comment on Marion's questions
or anything, put in the Q&A. Perfect. So this is the kind of world we're living in right now. It's a little bit crazy.
We have one, oh, I'm sorry, Marion. We have one person. I'm sorry. We have one person who's turning the page.
Ready to turn the page. I like that. So you can write your own story. The nice thing about turning the page is it's blank. We could be any character we want. We can create any kind of plot we want. We could take it anywhere we want to. We are the writers. And for that reason, I always advise, hold tight to that pen and don't let anybody write that story for you. And that's kind of where we're going with this presentation today and this discussion. But we are living in this VUCA world. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. If you work for business, perhaps you've heard of VUCA. And basically it means that things are very volatile, uncertain, ambiguous, and complex. And this term's been around for a while. But when I see this, no matter how many times this comes up on the screen, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, if that doesn't describe today, then what the heck does? So we're living in this time of uncertainty. We're living in this chaos. We're living in a pandemic, never before experienced. So ask yourself the question, like, where does this leave you? Where are you in all this? You know, are you really impacted by the uncertainty, or the fact that the rate of change, which is happening really, really fast, which is the volatility? You know, how complex has life gotten? Work at home, maybe go back to the office, homeschool your children. There's just a lot of gray areas that we have to work through. So a lot of people in times like this turn to thinking of alternatives in their life. Again, if you're unemployed, you're probably out there scurrying around looking for a job. There are jobs out there. However, I'm hearing a lot of wait, the word wait right now. And why wait is my question to you. Because while you're waiting, there are so many things you could be doing to maybe secure your future. Because the whole job thing right now, I'm not trying to be Debbie Downer, but it's a tough go. People are just coming back to the workplace. People are just redefining what their business is going to look like, the corporate America, if that's where you're from. So, you know, for that reason, there's a lot of unemployed people, or people's hours have been cut. So they're underemployed. Or so they're thinking, well, maybe I, have a business I'm going to resurrect. So a lot of people I know that I work with have had kind of like stepped out before with a side business, but then they kind of let it go because their regular job was enough to sustain them. But then they're right back into thinking, I'm going to resurrect that and take another go at it because I need alternatives here. And again, transitioning to your next chapter, what does that look like? So some people, it was interesting. I was speaking recently to a group. It was a career group. And I asked the question, how many of you, and it was older workers, probably 45 and over. And I asked the question, how many of you have to have a job tomorrow because your life depends on it and you would be in financial disaster if you did not? And only 2 hands in the room went up. And I really thought that was interesting because transitioning to the next chapter isn't always about money, but we have worked all our lives. And for most of us, there's probably less years ahead than there are behind. So we've always gone to work. We've always found purpose in our life. We've always found a way to find some meaning in our life, to wake up and have a reason for being. And yet now we're thinking, where's our purpose? What do I do? Who do I serve? So it might sound like a lot of you out there. And so for that reason, some of you have already turned that page. So there's a lot of considerations in a startup. And what I'm not going to cover is some of the things you see here. But in stepping out, and for those of you who already have a business, you can well appreciate some of these that you've already gone through. So you have to cultivate an idea. You have to create a plan and look at your finances and find out what's feasible and what's not. You also have to have an understanding of the market that you think you might enter, and then choose a business model and a structure. And finally, select your name and register your business. Notice that the name comes later once you have an idea of who you serve and and how you're going to serve them and what it is you're actually providing to the market. So this is all things that SCORE, I believe, has lots of support in this area. You can answer any one of these questions, get a mentor, and you could actually have a lot of help in this area. So what I'm going to talk to you about, though, is how to even come up with the idea, how to even consider that walking on your own or having some passive income is even possible in your life. So some of you may have seen this. It's called Ikagi. And when we start considering a business, right? And for those of you that already have a business, you can look at this again and maybe redefine and reframe where you are within your business. But a lot of people say, well, I really want to start a business because there's something I really love. And that's okay, because that is part of the base here. And then other people will say, well, not only do I love it, but I'm really great at it. And that's going to satisfy your passion and maybe turn it into a profession. But to connect with a mission, the question becomes, does the world need it? And maybe even, why does the world need it? And not until you're actually paid for it does it go from just being passion and maybe a mission of yours in life to an actual profession and vocation. Now, some people, because they might not need money or that's not their driving force, may just be fine with that passion and the mission. But the purpose today is to also let you know that turning that passion and mission, the thing you love, the thing you're great at, that perhaps the world needs, you can get paid for it. And that's what today is all about. So once you can marry all those 4 facets, that's where your purpose, that comes up in the middle there. And if you ground your business or your business idea in purpose, that will help you sustain your success over a long period of time. When you step away from your purpose and your passion is when your business starts to take off in different directions, become diluted, and it's harder to serve an audience because you've fallen out of step with your purpose. And it's rooted in belief. I imagine, and I'd love to see if you could type in the Q&A box there, do you believe that you are called to do something here on earth? Is there a calling that is rooted deeply within you that you feel you just would love to heed in this, whatever time you have left in your next chapter, or in the chapter you're in now, and perhaps cultivate on the side? So Jane, if anything shows up, can you please let me know? But
yes, I will, but so far nothing.
Okay.
So if anybody has comments or questions, just put them in the Q&A or the chat.
So what do you believe you're called to do? I think you really have to ask yourself that question. And if you believe in yourself and the value you bring to the world, then others will believe in you. And people know when I stepped out and said, I'm gonna, do executive presence, or I'm gonna be leadership coaching or whatever. And, it was somewhat there, it was somewhat rooted, but it wasn't until I took my story, which I'll share in a bit, and started putting some parameters around it and sharing it with the world, that people could hear the emotion in my voice and the passion behind it. And then they started believing me and connecting with me. And at this point, when you find this purpose and you find this passion, you kind of become a slave to serving in that capacity. You literally dream about it at night. You wake up thinking of ways you can help in this capacity, ways that you can heed your calling. And the goal, the whole thing here, is that you then can become an integral part of somebody else's growth and well-being. So in finding my own growth and well-being, in challenging myself to grow personally and professionally, I have been able now to impact other people's growth in a big, big way. And you can too. That's the important thing.
Marion,
Yes?
we do have a comment from Mark. So I keep being drawn into the same activity, value, light, in quotes, space. I keep being drawn into the same activity, value, light, space.
Okay. Is there a question in there, Mark? Because yeah, it's easy to get drawn. So you're getting drawn into this. What I'm hearing, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mark, is that and that's interesting that the light is on this slide, that there's something inside there that is taking root with you, that there's some kind of seed that's being planted and you keep being drawn to it. But the question is, have you been able to identify it? Have you been able to put a name on it?
Hi, Marion, it's Mark.
Hi, Mark. Oh, Mark Strano. Hi, Mark.
Glad to be with you today. What a great
How
opportunity.
are you? Thank you for joining.
Good. You yourself are bringing the light here to us.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, really, as always. So your question is interesting because if I look over my shoulder in my career history, there's a path, there's a thread, and I keep falling into, was the expression I used, this the same kind of conversation or the same listening or bringing value to people in a similar way. And so if I look ahead now, is that my calling? Is that something I should focus on and turn into a business or monetize it, to sound a little crass about it? But there it is,
Yeah, and don't sound bad about the monetize, because there comes a point where passion and purpose, everybody at SCORE is here because we have to and we want to make a difference, but we also need to get paid. We're not done making money. We're not done in the workplace. And you and I have talked about that. But yeah, so if you could, kind of allow yourself to keep walking towards that light, and see if you can't quantify what is in there if you get closer, like words that come to mind, ideas that come to mind, like ideate, whatever the word is, and just jot them down, and even on sticky notes, and start to put them all around your desk or your room or your computer screen. And every time it comes to mind, I did this in the beginning. This is just one way. Every time something came to mind, I would have those tiny little sticky notes, and I literally started sticking them all over. I have this like whiteboard in my one room, and I would just stick them on there. And then every once in a while I go in there and I'd start to make columns, and I found out that certain words or certain thoughts came up time and again. So Mark, you know my story a little bit about what I'm going to share about the light and the spark and all that. And those kind of words came up over and over and over again, and it helped to frame what was my driving force. So I think you need to look for patterns in words, thoughts, actions. I know you spend a lot of time volunteering. Where, you know, what are you getting out of that, and where are you constantly pulled to? Does that make sense?
Oh, sure, it sure does. And it's great when, you know, I do make a few bucks here and there
Yes.
in that activity. When they converge, you know, it is really kind of an elevating, you know, great, exciting space.
Yeah, which shows you that that can
Reward,
happen.
different
Yeah.
reward, yeah. Yeah, thank you.
And
Thanks,
I
Mary.
find that making money nowadays is different because it might not be that we can get sucked in, and by letting other people define success for us. And what I mean by that, and I've been there so many times, and I still am falling prey to this. You know, you get online and it's somebody made $1 million in a week, or here's my signature process for 1,000 leads in 24 hours. And everybody's making $1 million. Like, doesn't anybody start at zero? Doesn't anybody make $100 first? It really is misleading and can psych you out, basically. So I had to stop following some of those gurus and those people and plan for my own success. So if you're making some money, that's better than no money. And that's proof that, you know, people are connecting with you and are willing to pay for it. Okay.
Those are all the comments we have right now.
Okie doke. So the goal here is reframing your value to the world. And a lot of us are lost because I know, being in business and heading up a division, I felt like people came to me, people asked me for advice, people willingly sought me out. And now, you know, I have to reframe my values. So let me share a quick story. As I was just coaching somebody in a mentor coach program, and this person is on the inside doing internal coaching. So part of her job is, and most of her job now, is that she's in HR and she is coaching people within the organization. And she gets paid, I want to say, a shitload of money for that. And so she said to me, I am having trouble thinking of charging on the outside, and how will I ever get paid what I am now? And I said, well, what are you paid now? And she shared this number with me, and I said, and what is the value that you are bringing to the people that you coach? And we chatted about that. And so when I asked her the question, like, what's changed? Really nothing. So it's thinking, it's redefining how we think and reframing this value and how we're just going to bring it to the world in a different way. So birthing my business, I created this Ignite Growth. I had the reason everything with me is about flames and passion and all this other stuff is because I was a campfire girl. I spend almost every waking moment when I'm not working in the outdoors. And when I was really down after 2010, and I had a great salary, had a great job, everything was going wonderfully, you know, the kind of, what people, they say, put on Facebook, the kind of life you think you want to have. Well, I actually had that kind of life. And then it wasn't there anymore. And I spent my severance and into my 401k, like everything was disappearing in my life, any stability that I had. And but there was this, like, Mark, you talked about the light. So there was this little like spark, and literally I thought it was anxiety maybe, but I would lay there in bed and there's just this thing like eating away at me. And I kept picturing this flame, and it kept getting brighter to where it actually, like, I could feel it like burning my insides. I know it sounds crazy, but that's how it felt. And then I thought, well, you know, if I could find out what that one spark is, just one tiny spark, and get back on my feet and ignite some kind of growth in my life, then I could also ignite some kind of hope in my life. And that's how I birthed my business. And my biggest challenges up front were, the biggest one, and still is today, is making money while making a difference. You know, I really just want to change, you know, help people have better lives, help people connect with their passion and purpose, but I need to make money because the mortgage company doesn't want to sit here, oh, I'm paying you this month because I was out making a difference with a whole lot of people. And they're like, well, we would rather have a whole lot of money while you pay the mortgage. So that's how that pans out. So I struggle with that. But so that's why some of the things I shared today, what I came up with. enabling outcomes while producing an income. I will always be focused on outcomes more than the income, but I can tell you, if you keep your focus there and you honor that, that you will make money. Balancing your passion, profit, and purpose, moving from reactive to proactive. Again, don't just jump out because the gurus say if you do this, you'll make $1 million, but proactively planning my own business by quantifying my calling. Like, what does that really mean to people? How does that really impact their lives? It's about them and not about me. And once I stopped tripping over my passion on my way to purpose and profit, things changed. But I did realize along the way that my biggest, not my biggest challenge, I should say fear, my biggest fear today is still dying with that flame of passion that's never been honored. It's not an option for me. So that's why I'm always focused on this passion and purpose, and finding ways to make it profitable and sharing that with others as well.
Marion,
Yes, ma'am.
people are wanting to know if you will be sharing your slides with the audience.
I'd be happy to. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, so at the end, we'll tell people how to get those slides.
Absolutely. Yep.
Liking your slides, so they'd like to have them as a reference. Thank you.
Of course. Yeah, no, perfect. I would love to share them with everybody. So now there's this spark, in my belly, and I'm seeing quotes and I'm looking for reasons to honor that passion in some way, because it really became not like what it can do, but what I have to do. And I kept saying, what do I have to do to honor this? What do I have to do to honor this? And these are the quotes that to this day hang on my wall and speak to me. The one on the one on the left is the biggest one. I came from a really dark place, and people seem to attract to me because I represented some kind of hope for them, that if I could do it, anybody could do it. That with literally zero spend, and at one point I can share with you, I had $11.43 in all my accounts, and 2 kids in college, a single mom, and I just felt like I needed to go there, and I was placed there for a reason. And so for that reason, it became this compelling drive that I wanted to inspire people. I want someone to look at me and say, because of you, I didn't give up. And if one person didn't give up because they met me and because I helped them, then that would be good. That would be enough for me. And now I'm able to do that for more people. And the other thing is, this fire inside of me was burning bright, but it was brighter than the fire around me. So I was able to cultivate that further and bring it to the world. And you'll see how as we go on here. So that's enough about passion, but the purpose is really about your why. So how I built my business, it was from the inside out. And Simon Sinek, if you know him, and I think I did credit him, but it's underneath my screen sharing. So he has what's called the golden circle. And I love this, and you may have heard of this, but I'm going to explain why I put it to work in this light. I went about to build my business from the inside out, but I didn't initially. Initially, it was like, here's what I do. I help people, or I help leaders, or I build leaders, or when I got my coaching credential, it was now I coach. But a million other people do that too. So why are they going to connect with me? I really had to spend a lot of time getting in touch with my why. And Simon Sinek in his golden circle, and if you want, there's a 5-minute version of this on YouTube, which I highly, highly recommend. I also read his book called Start With Why 3 times. And that's when I built my business from the inside out. I had to answer this question. Why do you do what you do? What's the whole purpose of doing what you do? It's almost like, why do you get up in the morning is what he asks. And why would anybody else care? And that just kind of resonated with me, because then the how comes into place and the what comes into place. And I'm going to share with you how that pans out. But getting in touch with your why is the first thing you need to do to be able to think about cultivating a business that talks to your heart, that reaches your heart. Other people connect through your heart and your emotions, rather than just for the steps in the process that you might bring them. So this has been an invaluable lesson. Again, there's a book, there's long videos, there's the short version. If you have a business and you're trying to still get in touch with why you're even doing that business in the first place, you're building one, or you're contemplating building one, I would definitely start here.
Marion, would you give us the name of the author again, please?
Simon S-I-M-O-N, Sinek, S-I-N-E-K. So whenever I'm lost, I think, okay, Simon says, any of you remember that game when we were kids? Uh, although lately it seems like I'm working with a lot of kids. So I wasn't sure. I have my why, and I'm thinking, who am I going to touch out there? So who am I going to connect with? And so one thing I did is I went out on LinkedIn and Facebook and I did a survey. And I had all these things in my head, pathways to growth. So being in learning and development for 30 years is a blessing and a curse. You can do almost anything. You can develop curriculum, you can throw a program together, you can present, you can plan. I mean, there's so many facets of everything that you have done over the years. So then it becomes like, but how am I going to take this spark and reach people? So I put some questions out there. One of them is, what book title would you be inclined to read if I wrote a book? Which I still have yet to do 10 years later, but would it be Pathways to Growth for personal development? Would it be Uprooted to Uplifted? Would it be How I Lost My Job? Vision to Reality? Would it be Happy Camper because of my outdoor knowledge? I thought, well, if I like to be a happy camper, everybody would. But when I asked them, they weren't really that keen on that. Smarter Life, that's a little thing that at some point I will honor because it keeps coming back in my mind, but I don't know where it's going yet. But clearly, people were really, even 10 years ago, uprooted, looking to be uplifted, and finding out how to turn their circumstance into opportunity, or how to turn their vision to reality. And I think that's probably what a lot of you are looking to do perhaps on this call today. I followed that question up with another one on the survey is, what program would you be most likely to attend? Because, there's, would you want to come for, in the old days, it would be, you want to come for, 5 days, all day long for training. And so I asked them, what would you want to attend? And they said, for the most part, so I was interested to see the spirituality part and the adventure after 50, but again, it was creating the vision for the future that was also up there. So that, if you're having trouble figuring out what it is and the value that you bring to the world from that previous slide, ask the world and they'll tell you. They'll always tell you. And then I was like, well, what kind of program do I even bring? A 365-day program where people are married to me for life. Obviously, at 7.69%, they don't want that relationship. A monthly program where you focus on how to become a happy camper in life and business. That wasn't that. But the one that resonated, again, was a weekly program on how to go from uprooted and uplifted during times of personal challenge. And I'll explain more about that. I'll be running the 7-day challenge on that. And it showed that that really people are looking for weekly. I think that's all we can handle right now. I don't even know if we can handle daily, weekly, whatever. This is crazy out there right now, and people are very distracted, but you can still grow incrementally during this time. So most of the things I do have turned out to be weekly challenges where you can just plug in for an hour a day, create some momentum in your life, take a step forward, and then come back and do it again over and over and over. So I looked at the pathways for success. I finally got a little more serious and more intentful around my business. And I realized that even before I stepped out, even before I had to engage people or I built my business, I had to do certain things. And this became my pathway. Educating people, that cultivate. Obviously I'm educating, but I better get my spelling right. But cultivating, you could start now at any time planting seeds. And I'm going to go through each of these individually. You can start now engaging people and attracting them to you. You can also start thinking about the transformation that you are going to provide to people who are going to be attracted to you, and then eventually find ways to embrace them and convert them into paying customers. So let's start with the education. No matter where you are right now, stepping out, still in, wherever, you're going to have to get in touch with your customers and who they are. What I recommend is at least make 1, maybe even up to 3 different customer personas that you see yourself, people you see yourself connecting to. And not connecting because they worked in leadership like you worked, or they had the same kind of job, or they're from the same town. that's part of it and the demographics here. But what you're really connected to is their story, the challenges they experience, the fears that they confront, what they object to in life. Like, get to know them emotionally. And if you get to know them emotionally and look for emotional triggers, then you can start to get specific on who it is that you want to work with. And then when you go out to engage them, okay, so back here, I do this education on LinkedIn. I do it on Facebook. I show up in life as the person that I'm trying to attract. I'm always putting things on LinkedIn. That's a whole nother challenge, but putting things on LinkedIn, commenting, liking, sharing, writing articles of my own, and believe it or not, joining specific groups where you think your niche might be and just becoming part of the conversation. Little things like that go a long way. So then you can begin to engage people, because the more you put out there, the more people are going to be like, you know what, I'm a little attracted to this person, or I think that they might be somebody I will want to spend more time with, or maybe I will see if they have any programs for me. So the connection for the engagement, though, is found in your story. So you have a story where you're coming from, like, minus the flame and the financial impact and digging myself out and finding myself really at the bottom of the stairs in the basement. But that's where I got my rooting, and that's where I begin to grow. So where does your journey and that of your potential customer intersect? So the reason you hear a lot about creating your story is because customers will hear your story over and over again, or potential customers, and they don't all connect on the same point, but there will be a point or a part of your story that will really talk to somebody, and it's going to connect them emotionally to you. And at that point of intersection is where you're engaging a person, and that's where they want to know more. And that's where they'll start following you. They might click follow, or they might join a group that you have, or they might join your mailing list. But that's where it all begins. So, where is your calling take root, and how can you best help others cultivate forward progress? Those two questions need to be answered as you cultivate your story. And Jane, let me know if we're still getting questions.
No, we're still, everybody's still intently listening. So
All right.
you must be answering everybody's questions.
So then the empower and transform comes in. And I learned that what I thought I set out to do was not validated. And this helped me validate it. So Jim Stengel, this is from him, from his GROW model for coaching. And it's about empowering and transforming through core human values. So there are 5 core human values you see here. You'll be able to see them on the slide to consider: eliciting joy, enabling connection, inspiring exploration, evoking pride, and impacting society. So, if you look at some of the bigger logos and the bigger companies, they've all built their companies around this. For instance, Coca-Cola, eliciting joy. I like to teach the world to sing, and I'll spare you the rest of that. But eliciting joy. Starbucks is all about connection, right? Connecting with one another. Google, exploration, helping people explore new horizons. And of course, Harley Davidson, my next door neighbor, I remember he got a package when he got his Harley. He opens it up and it's welcome to the family, and he put the shirt on, and right away he felt like he was somebody. It gave him confidence and strength and vitality because he was part of the Harley family. And then Apple is always impacting society in a huge way because they constantly challenge the status quo. And that's why I think I'm attracted to the Apple products, because I think in my own way, I'd like to challenge the status quo in a way that, so you're down and out and get back up. So you don't have any money, make $1. There is no failure. There's always a reason to hope. There's always a reason to move forward. And the last part, when you finally have the other stages down, is that to actually convert and contribute. So all this time you're educating people, you're starting to engage them and draw them to yourself. Your eye is always on the prize. And this is where the profit comes in. Your eye is always on converting them and contributing, right? And to do that, you're thinking about, how am I going to have to set up my business now? It gets a little crazy if you're constantly trying to do everything without a plan. So, create a business plan if you don't have one, but don't create a 20-page plan. There are templates out there for 1 page. If you can condense your business plan to 1 page and constantly revise it based on the interactions you're having with people, that will be of great value to you. process anything you can, automate your calendar, create content, have a webinar platform, pick a content platform if you're going to create content, have a marketing system for how you, or in the social media, how you go about communicating with people. And on the right there, you see some of the tools that I use, and you can look at these on your own. But you know, start to put the pieces in place that are going to help you, because people eventually won't technically buy your story, but they'll buy the system that you are bringing them through. They'll buy a strategy that they're going to connect with you. They're going to buy the steps that you take them through in order for them to achieve their own transformation. And that's how it led me to my Ignite Growth and Ignite Hope. So this flame became my coaching process, which is to spark awareness, help you. So the thing about coaching, it's not me, it's all about you, and you sparking awareness in yourself, you kindling options in your life, fueling your own potential when you narrow down those options, and then with my guidance, igniting growth and action on a regular and consistent basis to produce sustainable growth. So that's how it kind of came full circle. So I mentioned the Simon Sinek why before. So we're going to go through now the why, the how, and the what, and how it looks for me. So the why, I had to think back. So I used to go to a business event and get 20 cards or 100 cards and come home and think, what a great success. I got 100 cards. I gave away 100 cards, and then like nothing but crickets. And so I was in these events, and they're, what do you do? Well, I do leadership. What do you do? I do coaching, or I do. But they don't understanding why I was being. So I came up with my why was that I believe individuals who learn from every situation will grow in ways they never imagined, and they will inspire others by the bold actions they take in their lives. That became my why, and also my tagline, which is learn, grow, inspire. And then the how became, you know, I help ignite the sparks and fan the flames that enable restless explorers to climb higher in life and business. So it might take you a long time, but again, I can't stress enough how important it is to get in touch with your why. I think there's even a Simon Sinek worksheet out there somewhere to take you through that. If you Google it, I'm sure you'll find variations of it. So then the how, I look at an engagement model. So I want to draw people in. So it's attraction marketing. It's not just here's what I have and they click on the link. You know, in the old days of training, it was choose a training program. But now I'm educating through social media, newsletter, blog, or whatever. I'm engaging and pulling people in because I'm offering them my how is through workshops, through coaching, individual coaching sessions, group coaching sessions. I'm empowering them further by giving tools and resources. And then I'm embracing them by inviting them into my social media channels, which I'm just now trying, you know, getting off the ground in a bigger way. But if you look at each of these stages, there's money to be made in every single one of these. Some people make money blogging. Some people make money, you know, they use social media to attract others to them. They make money. I make money on coaching, on workshops. I make money. Everything I break out separately. Tools. So after a workshop, I might say, you know, I have a tool that will empower you further to take action on your own. You could purchase the tool. And the nice things about, so, you know, the engage might be a little more expensive, but the tools and the resources cost less. So more people can buy them for less money. And then the embracing is the way that you keep people involved with you. And so if you have a mailing list, the statistic that I've heard many times and I go by, if you have a mailing list, a social media site, a tribe or anything like that, a community of people, and you have 1,000 or more people that you can start to sell through with your engagement, workshops, coaching, tools, resources, once you hit that 1,000 and actually start generating income. Now, that doesn't mean that because I have 4,500 people on LinkedIn, I do a lot on LinkedIn because even when I do personal coaching, these are people who have been and had a corporate life and now they're at a loss because they either don't or they know they're not going to have it. So, you know, if I have 4,500 people on LinkedIn, but only 300 of them are aligned with my vision and the reality I'm moving towards, then that's only 300 people. It's only those who are aligned in your message. And finally, your what. So the what, is a lot of people do this first. I come up with a program, I come up with this, I come up with that without going through the why and the how. But the what becomes, there's several ways that you can look at that. It's either people can do things with you. So they might have a mastermind program. They might have a coaching workshop. They might have, a training workshop. There's lots of things out there. It might be something that they do themselves, self-paced learning, online challenges. And this is where it's easy to turn around. There's lots of money to be made here. You can start small and it can quickly get bigger and bigger and bigger with minimal effort and minimal investment. It's do it yourself. And then there's the done for you, which are, well, you know what? I can help create a coaching model for you, or I can design and develop your first workshop for you rather than you do it on your own. So there's a lot of options here for you to begin to create something that you bring that would be your first signature offering. So what I did is, my goal, which is a work in progress, is I've always wanted to have my own online school because I've been an educator for life. That's who I am. It's what I do. It's the essence of me. So I teamed up with a company called Teachable, and Teachable, they have a free version, although this is I make 2 investments right now from that zero spend. One was my Zoom platform, which I live on. And the second one is my Learning Academy, which again is in Teachable. It's $99 a month. I post programs here, landing pages, take payment, registrations, everything all here in one place. People do it differently, but for me, I'm not that business savvy, so I wanted a turnkey solution. So I put out my programs here. I build them, super easy. I learned how to do the videos. I learned how to do all this. It wasn't a big learning curve. And this is where I put out some of the programs. People want to know more, they click on a program. There's a landing page, it tells all about it. So the reason I show you this is so within reach for anybody on this call. You take that passion and purpose, you cultivate a small workshop. Maybe it's, there were some people who in 4 Zoom sessions, that's your program because you have something you can help with, or maybe you're a coach and you can have a group coaching session in 4 sessions for people who are trying to do something that you're able to help them with. But this is where you start making money. For $99 a month, if you have 10 people in a $100 program, that pays for itself. And it's so within reach. And so that's why I offer this to you, just to show you that with today's tools in today's markets, there's so many turnkey options. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. You don't have to beat your head against the wall like I did. It's all out there, just waiting for you to be discovered. And so these little challenges that I do, one of the challenges will be, if you want to create a signature workshop, let's do it together in 7 days. Let's do it with other people who are trying to create workshops. Let's go in breakout rooms and discuss this and see if you can put to words what it is you're trying to bring to the world, and see if those words resonate with anybody. Another place I do that is Toastmasters. I go to Toastmasters and I try out new things, try out new concepts, because people in the audience will say, you know what, that really resonated with me, or you had me at the last one, but not at this one. So, there's so much to do, so little time. You got to plan. If you don't plan for growth, so I try to create like a goal a month. So I wanted to create a coaching program initially for Teachable. So my goal was create the coaching program. I literally lay out per month. This is just an example, how I'm going to spend my time. So on Sunday is where I plan. On Mondays, I might have some conversations with people. I might attend a webinar. Like, I decide how many webinars I attend per month. I decide how many networking events I attend per month. I decide in LinkedIn that I invite 50 people a week into my LinkedIn, 50 people a month into my LinkedIn network. And in the beginning, when I had 10 connections, nobody joined. Now, like, all 50 will join. It's amazing. So decide how you're going to spend your time. So when you wake up in the morning, it's not, oh my gosh, what do I do next to grow my business? What do I do next to move closer to my dream? You just do whatever it says you're going to do on that particular day. And you don't have to think about it. Now 30 days are gone. You look back and you're like, look at all the progress I made. I might not have a customer yet, but look at all the progress I made. And this becomes like your living diary, and it also becomes part of your story. So the lessons I've learned, if it's going to be, it's up to me. There's also help out there like SCORE though, and that means that it's up to me to get the support I need. If you believe it to be, it will be. Stay true to yourself. Don't get pulled off because, you know, somebody else was doing communication training that I knew and making a lot of money. So I said, oh, I could do that. I'll do communication training. You got to find that passion and purpose, and you have to stick to it and don't stray from it. Positive incremental success is fine. You don't have to grow overnight into that overnight success. Only you can create the momentum, and only you can stop it. That story, make sure you have a compelling story, and challenge the status quo. Why is your story so different, so personal? Then you come up with a world-class product and service, and you surround people with those who can help you. And in doing all this, you will find that anything is possible. And again, my biggest lesson is stop tripping over your passion and running away from it and hiding, because the more I did that, I fell farther away from my purpose and farther away from being able to create profit in my life and in my business. So some things for you to do. Maybe just go out from here and start to ideate. Think of things you're interested in, things you're passionate about, things you have authority in, things people come to you for. There's a person, Mark, you know him, Alan, who did a really good job. Like, he was a financial controller in a company, but people always just stopped by his office. He's a finance guy. And so he came out in his next act. He'd like to make some money, doesn't have to make a lot, but he'd like to make some money. And so he kind of just started attending every networking event for career changers. And now people are seeking him out. And after he goes to a career thing, he just writes on LinkedIn, hey, I want to share with you what I just learned. So he's educating people, which was that first step we saw. And people are being attracted to him now and engaging with him. And this is in a very short amount of time, like less than a year. And now he's starting to come up with ideas and ways that he can serve them. And he's starting to actually convert some into paying customers. All because it was something he was interested in. And he also began to develop an authority in. So again, anything is possible. So the first thing I would do is write down the skills and knowledge you experience. Write down this is important. Think of the outcome you provide and the transformation people will experience who are going to connect with you, and select the biggest one. Select the biggest one that's going to have the biggest impact to those you will serve. And then everything you do by doing these 3 steps from this point forward is going to come from this positioning, the way you position yourself in the marketplace. And people say, well, how do you find customers? That's always, I could put that the first slide. And all I can tell you is from my experience, help first, get paid second. Ask questions of everybody. How can I help you? Where do you fall short in your life? Where do you envision your future? You know, describe a time when you felt really fulfilled. You know, what's lacking in your life? I mean, there's no end to the questions you can ask. And then listen. And listen with empathy, like you're right there with them, like you really care. And you'd be surprised at the buying signals you'll get for the type of business you can create. Become the solution provider you would hire. Be creative about your networking and target it with those you serve. Spend time where your clients are. Be confident in your brand and leverage your knowledge and experience. I wanted to get in this company for so long, AIG, and it wasn't until I actually volunteered with the Disability Olympics, because swimming I've been a swimmer all my life. And the people who were timers and helping in the swimming were all from the company. They did it as a employee development day. So now I'm with all the decision makers, and I got a leadership coaching gig with them over time because I cultivated those relationships. So if you connect with the idea of contributing, you will find opportunity in the long run. So this has become my motto. This is a Marion James quote. I have found that success is limited only by the number of lives that one person can touch. And I find this to be true day after day after day, because I stay true to what it is that I want to do in life. And I stay true to it, honoring my passion and that little spark that started 10 years ago. And it feeds everything I do. So I said a lot. I mean, I was sharing for 50 minutes here. So Do you have any questions about anything before I share my contact information? Any questions, Jane?
Yeah, I don't see any questions, but somebody could pop some questions in real quickly, and we'd be glad to, Marion would be glad to answer them. I'll answer any score questions that you have.
Whoops.
I think Mark had a comment, another comment about the phrase doing well while doing good. So that's kind of a common phrase out there, maybe kind of aligns with the business that you've created, but also with businesses that a lot of people
Yes.
would like.
Yes. Yes. I would definitely go along with that. Thank you.
But the important thing too is doing well while doing good, because there's the monetization part of it that you need to consider when you're doing business.
Right. And then it's defining, I mean, well and good. Boy, there's so many plays on that word that you can think of. Is it doing good while doing well? You know, which feeds each other? But yeah, but you have to do well while doing good. Creating those seeds, planting those seeds, and it really comes from helping others. And I know, Mark, and I know you serve in a big way, and those seeds will take root. They will take root if you're targeted about that.
Well, I love your presentation. It's very much in line with how SCORE works with our clients. I love the idea of how you started your business, and you did a lot of research. And I think that's one thing that a lot of people miss as they're starting their business. They don't do enough background and enough research and identifying that target audience and all of the things that you did to understand your target audience and understand and build your business. All that upfront work is so important. And you presented it in a very engaging way that it's a business plan, but it's much more engaging than creating just a kind of a boring business plan.
Exactly.
It's a great way to look at business development.
It's like a strategy. So you can reach me anywhere you'd like on any of these locations, and mostly through email and LinkedIn, or at the Academy if you wanted to see what's possible with some of the programs you can create. I don't keep my website up to date. The Jancom Associates came when I didn't know what I was going to do. So I just said, well, Jane's company, Jancom. But I'm transitioning away from that into the Ignite Growth Coaching. So, and the Academy. So it's a work in progress, but it's a great journey.
How do you want people to contact you, and then you will send them the slides?
Yeah, why don't you just take a picture of this slide if you'd like, and contact me in any way you'd like. And I'd be happy to share the presentation with you and answer any questions you might have offline, either now or as you go about challenge yourself to create your own business or refresh one that you already have.
Yeah, so contact Marion at ignitegrowthacademy.com, and she will send you her slides. This presentation was recorded, and it will be uploaded to our website, so you can go to centraljersey.score.org. Give us a couple of days to get it up there online, but you can see the entire presentation there. So that'll be a good refresher as well. And at that website, come and look for a SCORE mentor. Our mentors would love to work with you on a personal basis and kind of expand on what Marion has talked about and the concepts that she's shared here. So I want to thank everybody for joining us today. We look forward to seeing you. Come work with SCORE and we'll have some fun. Thank you very much. And
thanks, everybody. Good
Marion,
luck to you.
Thank you so much. It was great.
Okay, thanks, Jane. Thanks for having me.
Okay, bye-bye.